The reason why Jesus was very clear and very direct that go make disciples, he understood that discipleship called for commitment. Discipleship called for sacrifice. Discipleship called for self-denial. Discipleship needed one never to think about themselves again, but think about God and think about the new way of life, the new walk of life. And that is why in the book of John 66, when you begin from up there, after he had made a number of disciples, he went ahead to tell them the cost of discipleship. He needed to let them understand that salvation is for free, but discipleship has a cost to pay. And when he explained the cost, the Bible says very well that a number of them were able to confess and say, these things are impossible. But we thank God for the 12, because the 12 were there to let us know that the things were easy and were possible. When their turn came, he asks them, what is your say? Where do you go? Do you also choose to live? They say, where do we go? Where do we live? We are here. We are ready to pay the cost. We have left our families, left our businesses. We have made up our minds to be your follower. We are willing to learn to begin to live a new way. And that is why we are saying that salvation makes more meaning when we teach it as a way of life, a new way of life of the kingdom, and a life that calls for total commitment, a life that calls for sacrifice, that in everything that you do in your life, you know that at one point I am going to pay a cost. I'm going to pay a cost to love. Sometimes you choose to go hungry for the sake of another person because you are a disciple of Jesus. Sometimes you choose to care for another person even when it is you who is in need, because that is a life of a disciple. Not living this life of a normal believer where God is for us all and man for himself. The life of the kingdom, a newer life, a life that is saved, a life of God. It is a life that is all about others, pouring and living for the sake of others in your everyday life. And this is what we are talking about. We as Abounding Mercy Life Discipleship, our team, we thank God that we have been able to get the opportunity to see in depth that when salvation becomes the way of life, it becomes the best thing ever. It becomes very easy. It gives you the ability to check in and out to see if really surely you carry the life of Christ on the inside of you and on the outside of you.